We're back. Okay.
The ransom has been paid.
All right, hold on. Let's give it a couple seconds here. It's got to reload up. All
We
right,
have
we're
some good people online.
yeah. So in fact, we'll take some questions in a little bit, but I wanted to kind of yeah. So while you're
So going
talking,
from Kamiko,
yeah,
basically I spent a year practicing.
right,
I wasn't getting paid much, but I didn't care. And once I got to a level where I thought I was working out like the major kinks that I had, I went to Comic Con, and this is where I get crafty. Can people hear me?
yeah,
Because I got
hmm
some secrets here on how to do it.
okay,
I I was going to different editors and showing them my work. I did this for a couple of years, but like by year two, I was with already at Kimiko, and I decided to pinpoint Fabian Nicieza because he was editing like 6 or 7 books, right? Like he
yeah,
was writing 2 or 3, and then editing. He was editing a bunch of books too, right? He was
hmm
doing or whatever. He was doing a lot. So I was sending. He gave me his card at Chicago, and what I would do is I would send him my sample, and then I would call him. I would FedEx my sample, so it looks like it's legit and
right,
professional, right? So it looks
right,
like he's supposed to be getting this from somebody. And this is back in the days when customers used to send the originals in, right, with a FedEx box.
hmm
And I would send a FedEx box, but it would have photocopies. And I would call them like 2 days later and say, hey, did you get my samples? And I built a rapport with Fabian. And
Had you ever met him in person prior to that?
I met him in Chicago.
Got it. Okay. So
And
you won this contest, and then you started doing samples. You FedExed them to Marvel, where Fabian was an editor.
yes, yes. And
And
DC too. And DC.
yeah,
I was doing both.
right,
There was an editor named Neil Posner back at DC a long
right,
time ago.
right,
And he was also really kind to me, really nice,
right.
and was helping me develop. Between him and Fabian, they were both helping me develop with their comments and their notes with my work.
Yeah,
And then one day I sent in a set of samples that I just had a good feeling about these samples. And I got a call from DC and Marvel on the same day to
uh,
hire me. On the same exact day, within hours apart. DC called first, and I said yeah. And then Bob Harris calls from Marvel, and I
right,
like almost like fainted.
right,
And he wanted, and because I knew he was the X-Men editor,
right,
and at this point I knew who you were and everything. And I flipped my lid. I couldn't believe it. He called me.
right.
And
Wait, so which one did you end up doing?
so I did export. I did both. The DC thing was just a half of an issue of some, annual or something. I don't even
Right.
remember what it was called.
Uh huh.
And the Marvel thing was X Force annual,
Right.
and that 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 started it all for me at Marvel,
Right.
the annual.
Right. But were you
It was right after Rob Liefeld and
uh huh.
Frank Capullo.
Got it. Got it. So you broke in like the '90s for the most part.
I broke in the '90s.
Right.
I saw your
Yeah. And
you
so
don't do this.
you're just moving a lot left or right.
Go, whoa.
Right. Right. Anyway.
Getting vertigo.
Right. So I've got loaded up art wise. I've got the 10th here. So you put into your time at Marvel. But the same. I mean, basically, when I broke into Marvel, I was being paid to learn how to draw. I mean, I was not really professional in my opinion. But for the first couple years, because you had the deadline and because you had that pressure, it forced you to draw and do the work, and you got better just from doing the work. You know,
Yeah.
so then you left Marvel and then you created the 10th, right, for Image. So I'm
Right.
showing
Yeah.
some,
Right. So Marvel, I was there for like 3 years maybe,
right
and I did 2 years on X Force, and then I did a little bit of Gambit
here.
Externals,
Here's some X Force.
and I I wanted to break out and do my own thing after that.
Right,
Well, here's what happened. I got hired by Todd McFarlane, who spawned Blood Feud with Alan Moore.
right,
And so that's what made me leave Marvel, was just that opportunity to work with Alan Moore. And after that, Image happened, for me. And I always had an interest in writing and creating my own stuff. And they basically let me do the 10th, studio free. So I wasn't with Top Cow. I wasn't with, I wasn't with you guys. You were still at Wildstorm at the time, I think.
Right.
And then there's Tom McFarlane, TMP, and they let me do it. The only other guy doing it, there was no Image Central yet, like Walking Dead and all that.
Right.
That didn't exist.
Right.
And so I'm not saying I started it, but Sam Keith was there, right? So he was before me, and Sam Keith, at this point, he wasn't putting out any work at this point. So they let me kind of come in and do kind of what Sam Keith was doing. Where he's not under a studio.
Right.
And that's so I should get some kind of credit for Walking Dead.
You should get an award. I'll tell you. Let me tell you why. Because I remember back in the day, we offered a lot of different artists, like higher profile artists. I mean, that had been in the industry longer than you had at that point. The opportunity to come over and not do their book through one of the studios, but be, an independent player and basically keep all their money and be their own boss or whatever. And most people didn't do it. And I think it was more like the second generation of talent, you and the Dale Keones and the Sam Keiths, that decided to take the leap of faith and do that. And so I think, you should get an award because really you already had a career going at Marvel. And you made the plunge and knew that maybe you were throwing your name in with these guys that were being kind of dismissed by the big two at the time. So I think that's pretty huge. And then because you're doing it all on your own, you were your own company. But now, having heard your story, it makes sense. If you were self-publishing essentially at age 9, and drawing, and the way you were going about trying to break into comics, having that kind of entrepreneurial spirit and doing your own book seemed probably pretty natural for you. I would take it, right?
Yeah,
I assume.
I wasn't afraid of the risk. The risk is I'm not going to make any money.
Right.
I had to pay a colorist, I had to pay an inker, I had to pay a letterer.
Yeah.
I had to pay for the printing. I paid all of that out of my pocket.
Yeah.
And then pay my own bills. And luckily for me, like I said, I've always kind of had like a certain amount of confidence in myself.
Yeah.
So it enabled me to take those chances because I believed in myself. If I
right.
So it worked in my favor. I mean, some people might say, well, he's overconfident, but if I didn't have that confidence, I wouldn't have taken those chances.
Sure.
I would have been too afraid. I would have stayed doing, trying to do Spider-Man or Hulk or something, or, and I wasn't afraid of the challenge.
Right. So, and then,
I was always thinking.
Right. And you had already been writing your own material, so it wasn't as big of,
At this point, I wasn't writing yet, so I brought in Bo Smith, who's having success now with Winona Earp.
Right.
And so he started off the 10th with me, and I was kind of I wasn't like co-writing. He was actually the writer, but I was unofficially kind of co-writing. I was telling him what I wanted the characters to do, what I wanted the story to be, who says what. I mean, I was basically co-plotting it. Without taking credit.
Right. I think a lot of the Image books back then, it was really highly collaborative. Meaning that the artists really kind of drove it a lot of times and just kind of drew what they wanted, and then I'm sure the writers, they probably have like a therapy group where they all kind of commiserate about how their ideas were destroyed by the Image guys back in the 90s. But that was just the era, that was the time.
Right.
So how long did it take you to break into comics? Would you say like?
I'd say maybe 2 years.
About 2 years, and then you broke in around when you were like 19, 20?
Yeah, 20.
And then Image happened for you around
when I was 22.
22? Okay. All right. And then without getting into the details, I know, so the Image years, the 90s, there were a period of tremendous sales. I mean, not just Image, but at Marvel and DC. I mean, all the rising tide kind of lifted all boats, and everyone was really just, it was like the heyday in terms of pay. So I can't even imagine at the time I was like 27 or 28. And it's still kind of changed my life in both very positive and some negative ways. You know, can you share some anecdotes? I mean, you were 22, drawing your own, create your own material,
Yeah.
doing very, very well, you know,
Yeah.
financially.
I was selling a lot of copies.
Yeah. So what was that like? Did it mess with your head, or was it just like I can handle this because I've got my parents supporting me? I've got
It
I don't
messed with
know.
my head.
Yeah.
But I did spend a little bit extravagantly.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I think everyone did. Yeah.
Especially, I didn't come from having a lot of money.
Right. Right.
So the first thing I did when I got my contract at Marvel, going back real quick, was I got an apartment overlooking Lake Michigan down in Chicago, where like Navy Pier is right now. And all
Yeah.
that stuff. I had a beautiful condo overlooking, not a condo, it was an apartment I was renting.
Yeah.
And I was like going to just do it in style. I was just blowing money and, not being very responsible. And then when I hit 25, I was doing the 10th at this point, and I was doing very well with that. I was overseas. I was selling overseas. I was selling lots of copies in Germany and Germany in particular.
Wait. Wait.
Italy, France.
You were really focused on the international sales. Is that what you're
Well, my
telling?
sales were very big, and I was like David Hasselhoff of in Germany.
Right.
This is what they told me. They said 10th #1 outsold Spawn #1
Right.
in Germany. So that's what
All
they
right.
took me.
Okay.
Mine.
Sure. Sure.
But we did very well, and we were doing very well here too. I mean, I started out selling 70 something, almost 80,000 copies.
Right.
10th #1. And then we leveled off. I was selling 60, 50, 40s. And then 30s, I was considering that kind of low towards the end.
Right.
But still, that was a lot of money coming in just financially.
Right.
Right. And not to mention all the revenue from the international market.
Right.
So all that I was in control of. So I bought my first piece of property, my first condo, and flipped that. Got a house, flipped that, and I was kind of like investing in property for a little bit.
Right.
And living in it too, But,
Sure.
To where I'm at now. So that's kind of what shaped my life financially was
The '90s boom and real estate.
when I hit 25 and bought my first piece of property.
Yeah,
I
right.
started being more responsible with my money. Now I don't blow my money. I just bought a new computer. I got an iPad Pro.
Sure. There's always something to spend it. Right. Sure.
I mean, I still have my tendencies, if I really, really want something. But I got a family now. I got 2 kids and my wife, 16 years almost. So I can't I'm not a single guy living in a condo.
Right.
I got to be responsible.
Right. Okay. Well, so then, what brought you to DC then?
Well, I started to with the create your own books I was doing. I did several. I did the 10th. I did something called Silk. I did something called Adrenaline. I did something called F5.
Yeah.
And a couple others. And I sold the rights to Adrenaline to the Wachowski, or well, not the producer Joel Silver from The Matrix.
Right.
At Warner Brothers. So he purchased the rights to that. Somebody at Paramount bought the rights to F5. And I got to thinking that I should be writing screenplays too.
Right.
Because other guys were taking my stories and making screenplays out of them and getting paid more than me.
Got it.
So I decided I'll write my own screenplay.
So you stopped drawing for a while?
Yep.
Got it.
I took a few years off.
So, someone in chat mentioned F5, by the way. So you have some. I'm sure there's some German fans on chat as well. So.
People like F5,
Right.
And so I started writing screenplays. I taught myself, read every book under the sun, and it turns out that I was pretty good at it because
Right.
I was meeting with all these high-profile producers, and they were all telling me I have a future, and they can't believe, like my first screenplay, they couldn't believe it was my first screenplay ever, and a lot of enthusiasm for it to come from me. But I've just gotten married, and I had a lot of things just not go right. In Hollywood, there's a lot of talk.
Sure.
A lot of things almost happen, and
Right.
Those don't pay the bills.
Right. No, I remember. Yeah, I would drive up from San Diego. I would say 1 out of every 10 meetings was actually kind of meaningful or resulted in something. But 9 out of 10 times, you're just it's just
So
it's all like you said, it's all talk.
lot of near misses, and you know, my writing partner who I have now, I still write screenplays, but I just started again. I
Oh,
haven't done
really?
it in years, and now I'm finishing one up now. But I have a writing partner, James Bonney, who also co-wrote Hawkman with me and does
Right.
the show. And he's had a lot of success. You know, he sold something to Steven Spielberg, so he had a lot of success behind him. Also in the '90s, you know.
Right.
And but together we make a really good team. And uh, uh, you know, I'm excited about this. So I haven't given up my dream on it, but basically going back to what you said, I needed to pay the bills because my wife and I just got married, and she's like, "Hey, it's been 2 years, and you're not getting an income," and she's seeing the bank account go lower and lower.
Right.
And I'm like, I got to get back into comics.
Right.
You know, because,
Yeah.
you know, I had so many things almost happen, and it's so
Yeah.
heartbreaking. And meanwhile, I was spending money going out to meetings. I would fly out to a meeting, and then the main producer I'm supposed to meet is in Vegas shooting a film. And I'm like, he knows I flew in from Chicago, right? And they're like,
Yeah.
yeah, but we're here. And I'm like, I just blew all this money coming out here for
Got
a
it.
meeting that the people are not there. So it was very frustrating because I didn't live in LA, you know. But so I started reaching out back to Marvel in DC, and Marvel. I didn't know anyone at this point because everyone there was a big shakeup. I had no contacts at Marvel. I had no contacts at DC.
You know,
And
you're actually, Tony, I'll tell you, you're very fortunate. A lot of guys that take that amount of time off do have face a challenge of kind of getting back into the business because, like you said, their contacts have kind of moved on or they're no longer there. And sometimes the fan base can be very fickle. And if you're not out there on a regular basis, the turnover in fandom and just the fact that they like a new flavor every 6 months or a year, yeah, it's a challenge. But you were able to come back. I mean, but you changed your style too. I mean, you changed your style, your approach. Yeah,
what happened.
yeah,
I couldn't go back with the same style because the styles were already changing.
uh-huh.
So I couldn't go back there with I was doing like a cartoony, almost manga style kind of
Right.
thing going. And, you know, the couple people I did know at Marvel and DC were not returning my calls or emails.
Yeah,
And so I'm like, you know what? I got to put my ego down and draw some samples.
wow.
And I went and I did some new samples, just like I was starting over again.
Right.
I'm too
All right.
for that.
Did you take
Okay.
paper and fold it in half and staple it?
I
And
did just like that. Well, I had
Sure.
it back from the beginning.
Right. It was like Rocky. Did you have sweats on and you were like punching frozen
Yeah,
frozen
I had the tiger.
hawks of ham? Yeah.
It was on the loop. I have the tiger.
Survivor. Yeah. That song was actually very influential and inspiring to me too. Actually, I know we kid about it, right? Maybe you're not kidding about it. I'm not kidding about it, but that was like the '80s. That music.
I love
yeah.
that song.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I remember Rocky 3. That was just like so
Sure.
awesome. And
Yeah.
That song came on.
Yeah.
I was a little kid, but I was trying to beat Bruce Lee at the time. I loved
Right.
Martial
Right. So this is like the third phase of your career. I mean, the first phase was
artist.
right. Your first phase is you broke into Marvel. Your second was Image. Actually, your third phase was really screenwriting. So this is like your fourth. This is like your comeback from that kind
So
of
now I'm back,
detour.
and I had to do fresh samples. A couple colorist friends of mine, Tanya and Richard Horry, introduced me to Dan Didio in Chicago,
Yeah.
and I basically started fresh there and gave them some samples.
Right.
And I got on Teen Titans. They showed my samples to. There were Teen Titan samples. Okay, so I was
Right.
aiming big. I wasn't going to do Aquaman samples.
Yeah.
I wasn't interested. I wanted to do Teen Titans because that's the book. I started reading comics again. Let's backtrack. I hadn't read in a few years, and
Yeah.
I got hooked on Teen Titans, and I loved it. And after that, I started reading Superman. I started reading Batman. I got hooked on the DCU. I never read the DCU before Teen Titans with Jeff Johns. Jeff Johns and Mike McCone.
Wait, you never had read a DC? Wait, hold on a second. Wait, you had never read a DC comic book until that time?
I read the Teen Titans way back.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right.
But I wasn't. But I was a Marvel guy.
Right.
You know, I think a lot of us were. You know, I was
Same here.
X-Men.
Yeah.
It was so popular.
Yeah.
Spider-Man, and the Hulk. You know, but oh, they can't hear me. Can they hear me again?
No, they can hear you.
That's a while ago. Okay.
No, someone was my guess is someone overseas was asking what it meant when you
Look at that.
said
Oh, okay, great.
they were saying like comics don't pay the bill. It's a colloquialism. It's a bit
Right.
of slang. But someone Chris Phrygian is explaining it in chat, so it's all good. Anyway,
Right. So yeah.
so then who called you and
So I
gave you
started
work?
reading again Teen Titans, and I fell in love with that. So I did some Teen, and I have them. I need to put them up and show you guys. But
Yeah,
I did like 5 pages of Teen Titan samples.
right,
Sent them in just like I was coming out of high school or something. And they showed them to Jeff Johns, and Jeff Johns knew me from the 10th,
right,
from my past work, and gave me the chance. So
right.
and the rest kind of happened.
Sure.
But it was scary for a minute because I didn't know if I was going to be able to get back into
Yeah.
it.
Someone asked like, so you can't get into comics without contacts, and I think what Tony's saying is that it helps to know somebody, but you make the contacts. You either go to conventions, meet editors, or you mail them your work. But yeah, obviously you have to know someone to get the work. I mean, at the
Well,
end of
because
the
I had
day.
to do it again. Because
Right.
I went back and was like, I don't know anybody. I have to do it again.
Right,
I
right.
had to go to the con. I had to meet the editors. I met Dan. They knew vaguely who I was from
Yeah.
the past, and I started that relationship again.
Right.
I sent the stuff to the editor of Teen Titans, and the rest. Carlos Pacheco, my friend, put in a really good word for me, so I owe him some credit too. He was
Right.
really toughing me up, but I had to go back out and make the contact with the editors and
Right.
ask for a job, basically.
Right. So now I'm gonna.
Talk
That's
about being humble.
no.
I'm
That's
humbling you.
that's amazing, man. I applaud that, and I think a lot of people in chat can, from what I'm reading, I think they're inspired by that because they realize that it's not easy and it takes a lot of hard work. And even when you've been published for a while, have your own successful book that you're publishing, that
Yeah.
there'll be moments where you have to prove yourself. And I'll tell you, I had the same thing when I got back into drawing full time with Hush. I knew I had something to prove, so it required a rededication to storytelling and drawing, and kind of diving back into comics and reading like what's fresh and what's out there. So I understand that as well. I'm gonna flip through some of the stuff you did at DC, and if you could talk a little bit about, did you make any conscious changes in your style? I mean, obviously you're drawing new things, you had different influences, but were there things from the '90s you said like, wow? I mean, and I asked this because I have my own answer, but were there things from your past style that you wanted to kind of refine or get rid of, and kind of move your art in a different direction? Were there new influences, new directions you wanted to take it?
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to. Honestly, I'm still evolving. I
Yeah.
consider myself a work in progress, and my attitude is that I want to be better than I am today.
Yeah.
And I've always felt that way. That tomorrow I'll be better. And I take each book, and I assess it later, and I
All right.
look at wherever I'm weak, or wherever I think something needs work, and I try to fine tune it.
Well, look, I mean, if you look on your screen, like I pulled up this, it's a Justice League image. Do you see it? It's with Batman in the center.
For some reason, my screen is showing. Hang on. Here we go. Oh yeah.
Yeah, right. To me, you compare this to your earlier Image work or even your earlier DC work. There's a lot less cross hatching. Actually, none
Yeah.
really. It's really about shapes and silhouettes and color. Do you also? Can you want to talk a little bit? Do you color? Art direct the coloring on this? I mean, like.
You know what? Yeah, I mean, I look like a totally different artist. I think.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, I've been doing less cross-hatchy. I'm not very good. Here's the thing: if you're going to do cross-hatching, you need an inker who can do that perfectly too. Because if the inker, it's really an ink job to do that kind of really cool cross-hatching, like what you and Scott do. You can do it yourself because you're the master of that stuff. But Scott does such a great job.
Scott, I can't crosshatch. Scott does it extremely well, so I can throw the lines and I know that he can take care of it. But I understand.
No, but you give him like you give him the direction of this is where
Sure,
I'm
sure.
going with it,
Yeah.
and he goes and takes it and turns it into magic. And guess what? Scott Williams is a very unique individual.
Sure.
No one can really copy that.
Right.
No one can. People can kind of come close, but it's not easy to do. And so for me, I've changed a couple inkers over the past decade, just a couple, and they've all been fantastic.
Right.
But I'm not afraid to try new things.
Right.
And lately, like with Damage, I brought in, I didn't bring him in, but I paired up with Danny Miki. I asked him, do you want to work with me on this? We've known each other for like 17 years. We lived in Germany together.
No, he's an amazing he's an amazing inker as well, and he inked this Justice League piece that I'm showing as well.
He inked that Justice League piece, and the stuff that he brings to the table, it just makes it, it transforms my art.
Right.
And I think you might have the pencils there too, so you can kind of see what he did. But
let's see what you gave Danny here. Let's see. I'm going to take my. Okay. The backgrounds, the rubble is a little looser, which is that's normal, like most and in fact, I think inkers like the challenge of kind of taking loose lines and making it something. It's fun.
I like
fun
that.
for that.
I like if an inker, is assertive.
Right.
When it doesn't just trace stuff, because then it looks
Right.
flat.
I think you pulled a little Gal Gadot into Wonder Woman's face. I mean, it doesn't look exactly.
They're all copies of the actors.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I purposely was trying to make them look like Jason Momoa.
Got it.
I didn't have much to work with. I just had a chin.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And so people are like, he doesn't look like Ben Affleck. I'm like, well, you try drawing just a chin. Ben Affleck.
You know what? I think he's much bulkier in the movie, though. Right? I mean,
a little bigger.
Yeah. I mean, it was crazy. You see the lineup, and he's bigger than any other. He's bigger than Superman. He's bigger than Aquaman. He was gigantic in that movie. Yeah. I mean, it's like full-on bodybuilder.
With Gal, I just try to make her. I try to make them comic book style, but using their facial structures. So, but then we have the colorist, amazing Tomeo Mori, lives in Spain. He's been my real partner in crime for the last 6-7 years, maybe.
Right.
So I don't know how long we've been working together, but he's really made a big impact on the way my art looks. So between me and him and Danny, I'm really happy with what we all produce together. Because I'm working under, how this is. I'm working under a deadline. And I only have 8 to 10 hours. Honestly, that's all I can give during the day.
Yeah.
I'm not 20 years old anymore. I can't sit at my desk for 14, 16 hours.
Sure.
It's not healthy, mentally or physically.
Yeah.
To do that.
Right.
And so I give 8 to 10 hours.
So are you pretty no nonsense when you sit down? Are you drawing the entire 8 hours, or are you kind of?
I take breaks.
Yeah.
My wife works from home, and we juggle the kids, for instance,
Right.
School and picking up from dance class and things like that. So she really helps me a lot. But I'm able to, take a half-hour break here and there for them. But generally, I'm trying to be done with my work by 8:30, because what I do next? I go to the gym from 9 to 10, and I do that 4 days a week. I'm really about health right now and trying to be healthy and stay healthy. And that really helps me with my work.
Right.
I think I've gotten better because of my health practices.
Mm-hmm.
I'm much healthier now. I don't drink. I don't drink caffeine. I don't drink alcohol. I work out.
Wait.
I do all these things I didn't do like 3 years ago.
So you're telling me you got really boring? Is that what you're saying? What? Wait. So no.
My friends still invite me out.
Wait a second, Tony. So no coffee.
Right.
No, not even a beer, right? And so you're focused on health, your family, and comics. That's pretty cool, man. I applaud you, man. I think that's a great place to be. And
thank you.
And so
that 8 hour window, that I 8 to 10. And when I get back from the gym, I try to work for another hour. I try to work until like 11:30 or so.
Got it. Yeah.
If I can. But guess what? It's hard to make things perfect when you're on a deadline and when you're working that fast. Okay, and then there's certain things like if you're doing like I'm drawing a scene where Damage is fighting the Suicide Squad. That's like a team book again for a few pages, right?
Right.
That takes longer than Damage walking down an alley or Batman, coming into the Batcave or something. It takes
Right.
a lot longer. So you really gotta like focus hard to get that done in time and to make
Right.
it look good. So this is where I rely on a good inker, a great inker, and my amazing colorist, and we put this together.
Yeah.
And I think what I attribute my changing style is that what I'm working at is trying to be as good as I can be, but fast.
Uh-huh.
If I can make my work look great
Right.
within this 8 to 10 hour window, and I think slowly, I'm chipping away at that work. Hopefully,
Right.
I can get to that level I want to be at and be fast.
I agree with you. I think if you put too many hours into a piece, it can look overly detailed or distractingly detailed or busy. And in fact, some of the most, I don't know if they're striking, I wouldn't use that word, but some of the covers I've done, in particular for DK3, that the fans seem to really have responded to, I did in like 3 hours. In that
Yeah.
it's just a single image with a lot of shadows. It's powerful that way. It's very clear what you're looking at, and it has a very different. So I mean, I do covers that are designed to appeal to people that love detail, but then it's
Right.
nice to be able to do a cover that's more designy or has more punch because of the composition, because of the use of the spotted blacks and stuff like that. So I hear what you're saying. I think that's an important thing, because I think a lot of young artists, when they get in, they just want to impress people with, I can put how many lines they can put on the page or how much detail. But at the end of the day, true artistry is bigger than that. It's
There's a lot of spontaneity involved.
exactly, yeah.
A lot of happy accidents.
Right. The detail
Yeah.
is just one of the tools you have towards creating a really nice image, but at the end of the day, you can't just rely on that. In fact, it gets tiring for both
Right.
the artist to create and for the viewer, the reader, to see. So,
Well, it's funny that I agree. Some of my covers that have been the most well received are the ones that I did in half the time.
right.
And I was under a deadline. Like I just did a Wonder Woman lifting up over her arms. She's lifting up the body of Damage, and people
Right.
went nuts for that. You have it somewhere in your list here.
Right.
And I'm like, I was under a deadline. I didn't know that the cover was due, and it had to be done the next day, kind of a deal.
Yeah.
And I usually take 2 days to do a cover just because I fret and I change my mind and I put a lot of pressure on myself to get a cover looking
Right.
good. And I don't know, maybe you might have to give me some tips on that. But
Well,
I just overthink.
no, you know what? You know what it is if I have a deadline, it forces me to get to the point as fast as possible. And if I have 2 days, I know I can noodle something, or I can essentially indulge myself and draw things that really are not critical to
Right.
what I'm trying to say. And so I think it's finding that balance, because you don't want it to look rushed and look like you purposely took a shortcut. But man, if you can find that right shortcut that gets you to the final destination the quickest, man, it makes such an impact. And it's I'm just reading the chat. So someone said Tony Daniel, master of the chin. I think they're referring to the
Of the what?
they're referring to what you were talking about before. Someone just said Tony Daniel, master of the chin, and
The chin.
the master of the Batman, right? Yeah, but it's so all right. So there's an image here.
This is
This
like a simple.
uh-huh.
It's I'm working on this now. It's Wonder Woman punching Black Adam.
Right.
It's a simple thing. It's not taking me that long, But the simpler ones, I don't know. Hopefully people like that one. It's done in color, But
Right.
that's just what's on my desk now, and I'm showing off a little bit. But those simple images are the ones, If I'm under a deadline, I tend to not think too much about it. I just go with my gut, and I come up with something. Hopefully that's cool, I had a month to do one of the metal covers, and it took me a long time to get to it and to do it, and I overloaded it with detail, and it just, by the time I was finished with it, I just wanted to get it off my desk.
Right.
I just had spent way too much time on it.
Is it the one with?
Green and the burning library.
Yep. I'm pulling it up right now. So.
Oh yeah, it took me forever. I'm like, why? And I'm inking it too, and I'm like, why did I? Because Danny was inking a deadline and he couldn't do it. But
Right.
I'm like, why did I make this so detailed?
Right.
Because now I got to ink all these little things.
Right. It's crazy.
Yeah, that one. Yeah.
So we have a few. Since we started a little late and we have the downtime, we're gonna run this a little longer. But I wanted to talk a little bit about. I'm just kind of walking through some of these images that you did at DC. You did a healthy run of Batman. Some really awesome stuff there.
That was fun.
Amazing pinup of all the characters in the Batman family. And then you worked on Deathstroke,
Yeah.
Suicide Squad, Justice League.
Justice League, I only did 4 issues on. I had hoped that I would have been on that book for like a year or two.
Right.
But I couldn't handle all the million of characters.
Yeah, no.
All the details.
Sure, it's
too much.
it is a lot. I remember this double page spread you drew with the Justice League and all these tanks. I mean, it was amazing. Again, talking about detail, and that must have taken you like days. It's a double page spread.
And I found that each page was taking me 2 or 3 days, and I can't work like that.
Right.
And so I only ended up doing 4. I was really disappointed that.
No, I hear you. I mean, aside from not being able to finish that page in a certain amount of time, it kind of hurts your ability to gain like momentum, on a book.
Your
You know what I'm
momentum
saying? Right.
quicksand.
Yeah.
I feel like I was in quicksand with
Right.
every page.
Right.
And
But I pulled up this image of Wonder Woman with this lightning bolt jumping down, which I thought was another amazing shot. So.
Oh, thank you.
But you were able to intersperse kind of like these more iconic background-free shots. I think that's the trick, right? I think that's the trick of the Justice League. You have to kind of balance showing everything and then kind of pulling back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
So
I didn't get a lot of that in the first arc. There was a lot of stuff like on every page and every panel. So for me, it was
Right.
I couldn't do it like Brian Hitch could do it because that's his that's his MO. That's
Right.
what he does. That's what he loves to do. But I couldn't do that. It was just
Right.
a chemistry thing. But he's an amazing talent. I can't do what he does. Like my strengths are different.
Yeah.
And his strengths are being able to do like images like that.
Right.
A little bit bigger. Where we focus more like on the character and. I am working on my backgrounds. One of the things I'm always working on is how to make better backgrounds and things like that.
Right.
But my bread and butter, is characters. It's what people like my work for.
right.
Everybody's different, has different strengths. So I say to young artists, focus on your strengths. Work on your weaknesses, but know what you do well and do it.
Right. So I've now pulled up Damage. You want to talk a little bit about the genesis of this project and, the fact that you get to do a single character book and how different.
Yeah, I needed that.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so Dan Didio approached me and to join this thing that he was doing called Masterclass. So honored to be up there with you and
John Rader Jr., the guy.
Oh my God! Yeah.
How that must have been trippy, right?
It's very surreal.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting up on the stage and they bring Frank Miller out, and I'm like, oh my God!
Yeah.
I was expecting Frank Miller to come out.
Right.
Sit next to me, and I'm like, I've met him before, but it's still very
Sure.
intimidating for me.
Right.
And,
Same here. Same here. Yeah.
Andy Kubert, and it's just like, I'm like all these amazing artists. To be part of that, I just, obviously the answer to take on this was an easy answer was yes. Yeah, I'll do it. And Robert Venditti had a story idea that he actually had maybe a year or two earlier.
Right.
and it just fit in with what Dan wanted to do with this new age of superheroes. And so so doing it where it's I'm working off a plot, so I'm
Right.
not getting full detailed panel by panel instructions, but I get enough to know what happens on each page, what people are saying, what the emotional beat is, and it's enough. It's enough for me, But all it means for me is I get to call an audible a little bit more. But I would
Yeah.
do that anyways when I had full scripts,
Yeah. Sure.
So it was not a hard transition for me, but all I can say is I'm having a lot of fun with it because it's big, and I love big monsters going
Yeah.
against, and I haven't been able to really, do one regularly for a while.
Right.
He's a really great character because his human path is a very interesting character that I think people are going to really, get into. They'll feel for this guy and what he's gone through. He's a guy he went in looking to be like a super soldier, and he came out with this project, like this experiment, turning into like this monster who's causing all this destruction, and he doesn't want to be that, so he's on the run.
Right.
So the DCU thinks he's a bad guy, so we got Suicide Squad, they're trying to bring him in. We have, Wonder Woman makes an appearance, and she's looking at him like he's a bad guy. She doesn't know who he is. She just knows he's causing a lot of destruction.
Right.
So it's a lot of fun though.
Yeah. Someone in chat, Rodrigo, is asking when he's going to make his first appearance. So Damage. So the first issue comes out a month from now, right? I mean, today is actually FOC day, which is final cutoff day, or final order cutoff, FOC, sorry.
Right.
And so if you're out there and you're going to go to your comic shop or know your comic shop phone number, contact them, reserve a copy of the book. That will make a big difference in terms of the orders that are placed for the book, the longevity, the health of the project itself. So if you like what you're seeing, please call your local comic shop or swing by and reserve an advance copy. I think all these books, essentially this new age of heroes that we're doing, we've got, talent like Tony, we've got John Romita Jr., Andy Huber, myself, Kenneth Rocafort, and everyone is really trying to create something new and bring something new to the DC universe. And obviously there are some parallels to these characters and characters that exist in other universes, but these are characters that don't exist really within the DC universe. And they're new characters. It's a lot harder to launch new characters than rely on existing. The cool thing about this is these characters are very much a part of the DC universe and interact with DC characters. And in fact, I'm going to pull up a cover that you did, Tony, that has, I believe, Wonder Woman in it. So let me see if I can pull this up here, share it with the fans. I don't know if this has been shown yet, but
I've seen it on my Instagram.
Okay, got it. All right. You spoiled it yourself then. There we go. No, that's a nice cover. Let me move that up there and transition. There we go. So that must be kind of fun, drawing something that you created and kind of interacting with characters that have been around for 75 plus years.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's a brand new character, and I created his look. What he looks like as this character, and all the other peripheral characters, all those guys and gals. Lots of really cool characters that we come up with for this series. So, but it is different. I feel like I'm working on a creator-owned project again, to a degree, because these are all characters no one knows. Only myself and the writer really knows who these characters are at this point.
Yeah.
They're brand new, and we're kind of, we're fleshing them out as we go. I'm drawing them a little bit differently. The more I draw them,
yeah, that makes sense.
Take shape,
Right, and these inks by Danny are just amazing. I mean, just the fades he's doing and the you guys are both doing a lot of kind of very dramatic, moody lighting, smoke
He's amazing.
schemes.
there's a shot, a double page I think you have there with the helicopter.
Yeah, I just pulled it up.
Most people are like, well, there's no monster on it, but still, I sent that. I wanted you to see that because it shows, that
Right,
we're trying to make, even, the boring kind of scenes, look cool.
right.
That shows that's kind of cut off there a little bit, but
Yeah,
it's like it's double
try-
page spreads. We're missing half the helicopter there, but
right.
and
Hold on.
wreckage that damage caused.
Let me move it over here.
Yeah, we have.
There we go.
I mean, just the coloring, by Tomeo, and I mean, we just have a really good team of, creative team on this.
That's the cover
And it
number
all
one.
comes together. It's not a one man job.
Right.
All together. We're all working towards the same thing. We're all on the same page, and there we go. And we all love working with each other. And we all
Right.
cheer each other on. So so that's really great.
Yeah.
Because we work in a bubble. We're at home, and we don't get feedback until much later.
Yeah. James Lundy in chat is asking, no relation to the old Damage book from
No,
DC.
yeah, I know. Yeah, we get that a lot. Unfortunately, well, I don't know if it's fortunately or unfortunately, but this Damage has no correlation with the old Damage. We're just using the name.
Yeah.
Somebody said we're using the same logo too, but I don't know about that.
Right.
But
Yeah, I mean, the whole initiative was we looked at a bunch of inactive names and we saw if those sparked any ideas for new characters. And so the
Right.
book I'm doing, Immortal Men, is based off a single character called Immortal Man.
Right, I
And
remember.
we just kind of riffed off that general idea and
Right.
grew a team book out of it. Excuse me.
Right. Well, it's
So,
easier if DC owns the name already.
right.
Because guess what? All the cool names have been taken.
Right. And here we go. You got a Poison Ivy with Damage cover, which is amazing.
Poison Ivy's coming up. That's on the arc after me.
Mm-hmm.
But it was cool to draw. I haven't drawn her in ages.
Yeah.
Ages. And she's one of my favorite characters.
Cool. All right. Well, so again, that's your sneak peek at Damage. Thank you, Tony, for spending an hour talking about your life, your career, the kind of walking down memory lane. Thank you guys out there that tuned in, that put up with all the different technical issues. We'll improve with each and every single broadcast. And, thank you very much for supporting DC. And again, please contact your local comic book shops. Tell them you're interested in Damage and put your support behind these new titles, because at the end of the day, it's great to have a universe that's been around for 80 plus years. But unless we interject new characters, new concepts into this universe, we run the risk and danger of having that universe become sort of ossified. And it's important to keep it feeling contemporary and keep it feeling new. And you only do that by creating new things. So thank you guys for your support. Thank you, Tony, again for your work on Damage. It's beautiful. And we'll talk soon. All right?
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Jim.
All right.
Bye, guys.
Take care, guys.
Thank you.